Good afternoon, dear children. In the previous class, we learnt about weathering, the types of weathering, and the processes of mechanical or physical weathering. Just for revision, weathering is the process of breaking down of rocks, but not its removal. We had discussed that, and it has been described as the disintegration or decomposition of a rock in size by natural agents at or near the surface of the earth. And it is so because the disintegration or decomposition of the rocks takes place only by being exposed, simply exposed to the elements of nature. With this, we can understand the characteristics of weathering. That is, weathering involves disintegration or decay of the solid rocks. It depends on the climatic elements. Weathering affects the surface of the earth. It causes formation of the soil, and it involves not one but several processes to cause the disintegration of rocks. And it changes the hard massive rocks into finer materials, and it prepares the rock material for transportation by agents of gradation. So these are a few characteristics of weathering. Let us continue with the next process, that is the chemical weathering. The first type of weathering which we discussed was the physical or mechanical weathering, and it also had a few processes like the granular disintegration, exfoliation, and the frost action involved in it. In the previous class, we had discussed that. I hope all of you have revised. Today, we'll be starting with the chemical weathering. Now, weathering is happening all around the world at all times. So, when a chemical reaction is caused in a rock, it is called chemical weathering. Simple as that. In chemical weathering, where the rocks, basically, we all know the rocks are made of minerals, and every mineral has its own chemical composition. So, when the chemical weathering is supposed to happen, it is obviously going to get mixed up with either oxygen, carbon dioxide, or water. Water plays a major role in chemical weathering. Water in the form of rainwater or the river water. So here you can easily understand whenever a rock is formed, we all know it is formed of various minerals, and some minerals are reactive or they have a reaction towards water, oxygen or carbon dioxide. And how this happens we'll be discussing further. So here we need to understand that the decomposition or weathering of rocks and minerals is due to the chemical reaction which transforms the entire rock into a different chemical composition. Sometimes it leads to erosion and sometimes it also leads to the color change of the rock. The chemical weathering of rocks is accomplished in a number of ways, and each one is given a name to distinguish the different processes involved. The four main processes are oxidation, carbonation, hydration, and solution, and we'll be doing all of them. But then here first let us discuss the term oxidation. Now as the name suggests, you can easily understand it means the reaction of minerals in the rocks to the atmospheric oxygen. In simple words, this is a process by which oxygen in the air reacts with certain minerals present in the rock, resulting in the formation of a new chemical compound which is very easily eroded, or you can actually understand that it transforms the entire rock and thereby it leads to weathering or disintegration. Now this may weaken the rock, and a simple example for it is the rusting that you must have seen on iron. That when iron absorbs oxygen from the air, it rusts. It changes the color and becomes red or brown or powdery mass, which is called rust or iron oxide. And here we have seen all those examples. I'll just be showing you a few clips to understand this. Here, as you can see in this is a very clear example of the rainwater mixing up with the oxygen and reacting with the iron present in the gate out here. So the rust formation in the iron gate that you saw was simply a normal thing to understand as to how oxygen reacts with the iron which is present in the rocks also, thereby breaking it. If it can entirely break up the entire the iron present in its raw form, and in the same manner, when the iron is present in the rock as a mineral, there also it reacts and it breaks the rock. That means it rusts. Now, when the iron is absorbing the oxygen from the air, it rusts. That means it is getting into a chemical reaction. It is changing its component. The molecular composition of the iron which is present out there, when it reacts with the oxygen, it changes, and it also changes the color. So from a simple grayish steel gray, you can see that it has changed into a red or a powdery brown mass. Why? Because it has expanded in reaction. After the reaction, it expands and it starts disintegrating in a powdery form. The next process is the carbonation. That means, again, you can see the word carbonation has the first word carbon. So here again we understand that the carbon dioxide in the air is going to react with the rock minerals. So whatever type of a rock mineral is there, if it has a reaction with the carbon present in the air, when it comes along with the contact in the rainwater and forms a new compound called carbonic acid. So I'll just repeat. This occurs when the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere dissolves in rainwater and it falls onto the rock surface, which has the potency to react with the carbon dioxide. Now, what type of rocks are these? That is basically the chalk, limestone, marble, even sandstone at times. So when it reacts with the minerals in the rocks, it forms small pits and grooves on the surface of the rock. I'll show you a few examples here. Here you can see in this marble statue, a few grooves and holes have been formed because of the consistent. Now this is a marble statue which has been there in the exposed atmosphere since very long. So what has happened? It has actually reacted, and these are a few examples that you can see which have had a reaction of carbon dioxide mixed in rainwater onto the rock surface. Let us understand the chemical composition. The carbon dioxide in the atmosphere combines with water to form a very weak kind of an acid that is called carbonic acid. Now, you don't need to learn this. You can learn this because this is important. But even if you don't, you will be taught about this in your chemistry classes. So this acid reacts with the minerals in the rocks such as the calcite, feldspar, chalk, marble. All of these are prone to this carbonic acid, which leads to these grooves and pits, which is actually going to disintegrate the rock very gradually. This is not a process which is going to happen overnight. It takes months and years to happen. But then it is a gradual process, and little by little, this weak acid also has a drastic effect on the rocks. The next process is hydration. Now, hydration, the word hydra, that is water. Simply, in this process, expansion of the minerals present in the rocks occur when they come in contact with the rainwater. Now, minerals like potash and feldspar absorb water, they get very heavy, and therefore they push the edges and they gradually become a powdery mass, or they start falling apart or disintegrating due to the process of hydration. That is, the water absorption by these minerals forces them to disintegrate while they expand, and they are not able to hold their composition together. So it actually just falls apart. We can easily see that most of us have potassium permanganate in their houses to clean our vegetables. You can do that. Unfortunately, I did not have, so I cannot show it to you. The next one is the solution. Here also, the work of water is most important. As we had mentioned, that in this process also, minerals in the rock dissolve in water, and when rainwater or the river water flows over the rocks, whatever minerals which can be soluble by the water, that means which can actually erode the minerals or completely make them soluble. Now most of us have mixed the rock salt in water and seen we can easily mix up the salt in the water, right? Whatever grains of salt we get, so when we dissolve it, it is completely invisible after a few stirs, and then we see that the rock salt or simple salt has also completely dissolved into the water. So this is what happens. Whatever minerals which are soluble in water, the river water or rainwater, when it passes through them, it dissolves those minerals, leaving the holes and the pits in the rock, and it passes through them easily. So whatever minerals are soluble, it carries along with it, and that process is known as solution. Here, the few examples are simple rock salt, gypsum, and silica. They're very, very soluble. Here, children, I have a few pieces of the rock salt, and this is a piece of alum. So now, if I put this under water, you will see gradually within 2 or 3 minutes, not even half of them will left, and the alum will have a lot of grooves in it. So here you can see already 50% of it is already lost and nothing is left. 50% of the rock salt is already lost because you can see it was soluble. So it dissolved with the water, and now it has actually disintegrated into smaller and finer pieces of rock salt which is left with us. The same will happen with this alum as I will show it to you right now. Here you can see, children, just a few minutes under the water, and you can see it has made a big hole in the alum out here, and which is very clearly visible. It was a big simple piece, and but after being exposed to water, and wherever the water could actually make it dissolve, it has simply dissolved it and left a big hole in the entire rock piece. So with these holes, which you can easily see in the rock piece, you can easily understand the entire process of solution. Right, children? I hope all of us have understood this clearly. Let us proceed. Next type of weathering is the biological weathering. Now this is also known as organic weathering. Why? Because the basic agents are your animals, insects, plants and humans, which is all organic. Here we need to open our books to page 61 so that we can understand the entire biological weathering as to how it is happening. That some rocks are weathered by the action of plants, animals and human beings. And this type of weathering can be both. That means physical as well as chemical. I would request everyone to open their books to page 61, although you should have been marking since the beginning, but you all should open to page 61 because I'm going to make you mark pointers in your book itself so that you have ease in learning. I'm not writing it in the PPT so that you can easily mark it in the book. So the first one when we discuss is that the plants. Here you can see the pictures which is actually showing you that the roots of the plants, which they are growing into the cracks and the joints of the rocks, they continue to widen the rock and they ultimately keep breaking it, or it leads to weathering through the roots of the roots of the plants, sorry. Here in your book, you need to mark the roots of the plants is the number one point that you will mention, which is going to lead to the breaking up of the rock. The second one is the water which enters. Now, how is the water going to enter? because these roots of the plants are actually going to widen the rock gaps in which the water will enter. The rainwater will enter, or any other source through which the water is passing through that area. That water will enter into the cracks and it may cause chemical weathering. Initially, the plant was applying pressure, that was physical weathering. Then, the water which entered because of the widening of the gaps, that is going to cause chemical weathering, leading to either the frost action or any other chemical reaction. So, two of the things, that is due to water and the roots of the plant. So, these are the two major causes in the first kind of a biological weathering that we are doing, that is your through the plants. This is for the plants only. Then the third form in which the plants are going to help or promote weathering is the decaying remains of the dead plants in the soil tend to form organic acids. Now we had mentioned the carbonic acid which was being formed with the reaction of the water and carbon dioxide. In the same manner, there are some acids which are released by the dead leaves and the dead roots, or sometimes the animals also which die on the surface of the earth. So here the organic acids are released, which again dissolve in water and cause chemical weathering of the rocks which are present on the surface or below it. So here we have marked the three: A, B, water, A being your roots, B being your water, and the third one being your decaying remains of the dead animals and plants which form organic acid. So the entire line has to be mentioned if it is asked as to how the plants cause the biological weathering. The next agent we mentioned was the animals and the insects. Plants we have already discussed. In our book, we need to underline all the animals which are present. So here we need to understand the animals like rabbits, worms, moles, insects bring large quantities of fine material to the surface. That means when they are digging and they are making their own burrows, so they are making their houses, and which helps the loosening of the surface material around the rock, and that helps in the physical disintegration also, because that is a physical reaction, sorry, physical action, that they are forcing the rock to break while they are making their own burrows. Otherwise, while dying also, when they are going to die out there, what are they going to release? Organic acids. So they may provide some chemical reactions also along the entire area where they pass out or die, and they may release some acids for the rock disintegration also. So animals also play a very large role in the weathering, that is the biological weathering. The third one is the factor of human beings, that is, how do human beings help in the biological weathering? Now, man is the most active agent of both physical and chemical weathering of the rocks. For example, you have here, so please mark it in your books, your mining, quarrying, deforestation, tunneling, road construction, farming, that is your agriculture. All of these activities where the physical weathering is involved, sometimes even the chemical weathering is involved. When the roads are being made, you have some other rock type which you are mixing up with the others, and the dumping of the chemicals in the waste underground also promotes some kind of physical weathering. So all these activities of human beings lead to a lot of biological weathering. So today we discussed the chemical and the biological weathering. So biological weathering can happen anywhere, but chemical weathering takes place in all the regions where there is rain. That is, the water plays a major role in it. But it is most marked in the wet regions which have very high temperature also. That is also another factor which is related to chemical weathering. I'm adding a 4-minute video to it so that your entire chemical weathering is revised before we end the class today. Thank you, children. Please do your homework and stay fit. Stay indoors, eat healthy, and please stay protected from corona or COVID-19. Please take all the precautions. Thank you, children.
One type of weathering is called chemical weathering. Chemical weathering uses chemical reactions to change the rocks. A chemical reaction happens when a substance reacts with an element such as oxygen, and this changes what is made up of. The result is a substance made up of new elements, and it cannot be changed back. When you take a drink of soda, you heard an sh sound when you open a bottle of soda. You are feeling and hearing carbon dioxide being released. Carbon dioxide and other chemicals are also released into our atmosphere because of the pollution from cars and factories. This results in something known as acid rain. While it doesn't usually hurt plants or animals, but it can affect rocks. Carbonation happens when this acid rain combines with rocks and changes the way they are formed. So we can say this occurs when carbon dioxide in the atmosphere dissolves in rainwater and forms a new compound called carbonic acid. This new compound reacts with minerals in the rocks and causes small pits and grooves on the surface of rocks such as limestone, chalk and marble. Here you can see few examples of carbonation. Have you ever left your bike or any metal toy outside for a few weeks? Did you notice that some of the metal parts turned red or rusted? If you leave it outside for a very long time, it may even start to break apart. This happens because that metal was exposed to an element we need to survive. So, oxygen is playing a major role here. It is something so valuable to us but can be so destructive. Now, in this process, oxygen in the air reacts with certain minerals in some rocks, resulting in the formation of a new chemical compound, which is far more easily eroded. This weakens the rocks. For example, many rocks contain some amount of the mineral iron. When iron absorbs oxygen from the air, it rusts, changes its color and becomes a brown or red powdery mass called rust, which is easily eroded. Next is hydration. This occurs when water itself chemically combined with some minerals present in rocks, such as feldspar and potash, absorb water and become a powdery mass due to the process of hydration, resulting in their erosion. Next, this is the simplest form of chemical weathering, by which some minerals in the rocks dissolve in water when rainwater falls on these rocks or when river flows over them. The soluble minerals dissolve and are removed, resulting in the breakup of rocks. Rock salt, gypsum and silica are few examples of minerals